squeaky clean Bundesliga season is just around the corner, and I thought I'd give you my end of the season ranking predictions. Who's going to be the champions? Who's going to get relegated to the second tier in a Lewandowski-less era? We're going to talk about it, all of it, next. That's right, folks, back once again with another prediction video. Today we're going to take a look at the 2022-2023 final positions for the Bundesliga campaign, and we'll get to that in just one second. If you're new where you've been, smash the old subscribe button, bang up today. All things Bundesliga related, Bayern related, world football related. We're going to all here, boys, under one roof. Of course, the Bundesliga is one of the leagues that we do cover in extensive detail right here at Blackburn Rovers Seas. So I thought I'd give you my end of the season rankings, where I think everybody will finish at the end of the season, and then I'll look back at it at the end of the campaign, see if I'm right, see if I'm wrong, and anything in between. So, of course, if you're new, check it all out down below, description, all that kind of stuff, including the patrons, and a big shout out to you guys. So, what are we talking about? We are talking about this. That's right, the 18 teams that make up the Bundesliga. Of course, we have some new ones, and some of them have said goodbye from last year. But what we're going to do is work from the middle all the way down to the relegation spots, and then work our way to the tip at the top of the iceberg. So, without further ado, I think my mathematics is correct. We're going to start in 11th spot. That's right, and my 11th spot is Mainz. That's right, Mainz last season. Where were they? Let me get my details in front of me. Of course, Mainz coming at you last season were a respectable 8th. I do anticipate them to go a little bit backwards these days. We do have two juggernauts back in the top flight. That's Werder Bremen and Shaoka. I'm not necessarily saying they're going to compete for those top spots, but it is getting a lot more stronger. The likes of Frankfurt, who are in the Champions League, of course, Mönchengladbach getting a new manager as well to put them back in contenders for the top half of the campaign. So I do anticipate Mainz, who have been relegation fodder for a few years gone by now, but in recent years have been steady Eddie sort of team. You can actually get odds for Mainz to win the title at 500 to 1. I wouldn't touch it with a barge pole, but for me, I'm sticking with Mainz in 10th, so that's actually a downgrade of 2 spots. Into 11th spot we now go, and it is SC Freiburg. Freiburg had a fantastic season last season, dizzy heights of 6th in the table. Of course, it wasn't unexpected for them. That is, of course, a European spot for them. They'll be playing in Europe in some shape or form, but again, I do anticipate them to go backwards a quite considerable 5 positions dropped, but of course, same manager is there, and it'll be more of the same, but again, it is a stronger division this season with the likes of Greuther Fürth, BFL going down. Of course, I think definitely two of the weaker sides from the top flight in Germany last season. So there wasn't any surprises like Schalke or Werder Bremen a couple of seasons back. So for me, definitely going to be harder, but of course Freiburg will be content with mid-table considering a decent season in Europe. Moving forward, we have FC Köln, another fantastic season last season for Köln. They finished in 7th last campaign, of course, dropping down now to 12th with a very, I do anticipate a rebound from a lot of teams, the Hoffenheims, of course, even better from the teams above them, perhaps. Wolfsburg as well should be a much stronger side. But yeah, Köln, of course, great season last season. They'll want to emulate that, if not duplicate that, and I don't see them in any consideration for the drop. I do anticipate them to be strong in mid-table, and we'll see how well they go moving forward. Into 13th now we go, and it will be Augsburg. That's right, but more the same for Augsburg. In fact, it's actually 1 spot better than last season. We've got they were at 14th last season, 13th this season. You can get odds for Augsburg. They are actually the underdogs, one of the favourites to go down, 1,000 to 1. But for me, they are one of those awkward teams, kind of like a Burnley. No disrespect to Augsburg, but kind of like a Burnley, who are always in that relegation discussion, but always seem to survive. Last season, of course, in the Premier League, Burnley got found out and they got relegated. Augsburg, of course, calling the bookies, are favoured to go down, but for me, I think they'll be okay in 30th because there are still some weaker sides and sides that may, of course, build from successes last season, and of course slowly but surely get back to where they belong. And I'm talking about some of the juggernauts from the Zweite tier of Bundesliga 2. So for me, Augsburg will be steady Eddie, good enough out of the discussion of relegation, and they'll be there or thereabouts. They've actually got a new manager as well, Enrique Maassen. He took over back on the 8th of June, so a new set of eyes on this. Into 14th now, we have Shaoka. That's right, Shaoka, of course, champions out of Bundesliga 2. Of course, a lot of fans will be expecting them to come back into this and be up in the top end of the table. Not for me. I think it's going to be a little bit of a change of face. They've also got a change of face in regards to the manager. Frank Kramer's come in on the 7th of June to take over the reins there, so we don't know what he's going to be like. It's a bit of a mystery package. Again, okay in regards to positioning in the table, 14th for them. The bookies do have them to be a little bit much safer than the likes of Augsburg, 500-1, but still in a discussion to go down. So again, it is a mystery box, Pandora's box. We don't know what we're going to get with Schalke. It could either be good, it could be shit, or a bit more in between there. So for me, for Schalke, happy that they're back. They don't belong in the second tier. They belong in the Bundesliga. So well done for them to come back at the first attempt. Of course, right on their heels. Wouldn't be the same, would it? We've Werder Bremen. Of course, last season they finished in second in the Zweite tier. Again, they'll finish just behind Schalke, and again, I've got a lot of work to do. That is, of course, a bit itchy bum time right there, 15th spot. A bit too close to comfort in their eyes. Of course, 500-1, also just like Schalke. They've kept their manager, of course, from the end from last season. So I do anticipate a season of transition for them. I do anticipate that, of course, if they both survive, which I do think they will, they'll come back in the following season and maybe push for mid-table, and then hopefully look to better heights. But right here, right now, the job on the table is not to get sucked into a relegation battle, and by the looks of it, Werder Bremen are in one, but they'll do A-OK at the end of it. So, of course, that's 15th for me. Into 16th spot now. This is the relegation playoff. You're not necessarily going to go down, but you're going to be scrapping for your lives. And that is Hertha Berlin. That's right, Hertha Berlin. New manager as well, Sandro Schwarz. Not too sure about him and his direction there. Felix Magath was the interim manager, and of course, they only just held on last time around. Where did they finish last time around? Hertha Berlin. They were actually in the same spot last season, 16th, but they held on. Of course, ousting a Zweite Bundesliga side in the process. So again, not much has changed. Of course, they do a bit has changed in regards to personnel behind the scenes, but I do anticipate them another season of woe. And of course, the bookies, where are they? The bookies actually have them at decent odds, 250-1, up there with the likes of Hoffenheim to do pretty well for themselves. But for me, I'd have to disagree. I think 16th spot is about right, unless they surprise me. Early thoughts. So who will actually go down? Of course, we did see a couple of teams get promoted last time around. Who got promoted? Of course, the likes of I'm looking at. My mind's yes, of course, Werder Bremen and Schalke. Of course, both those two sides were promoted, but who are actually going to go down? But so for me, two teams, established teams in the Bundesliga, are going to go down, and they are into 17th spot. VfL Bochum, that's right. Fantastic campaign for them. Great for them to come back last season, but they're going to get found out in the second season syndrome. Of course, Bochum finished in 13th last time around. They're going to have to dig deep if they're going to stick around for a second season. Odds of 1,001, just like Augsburg, to stick around. So I do anticipate another season of worry for Bochum. Of course, I was just happy that they were back, and they did have a few surprise results last season. They're going to need more of those if they're going to get out of it. But the likes of Schalke and Werder Bremen do make this decision this season a very difficult one to navigate for a team of Bochum's standard. Same can be said for the other team that's going to join them. A bit of a juggernaut as well, but maybe not having the best of luck these days. It is Stuttgart are going to go down as well. VfB Stuttgart, of course, last season they finished in 15th as well, also in that relegation discussion for a long time. But I think they're going to go down at this time of asking. Again, odds for Stuttgart at the moment much better as well. 501, not in the same bracket as Bochum or Augsburg, but in a cluster of quite a few teams at 501 to go the distance. That's right. So that's my bottom half of the table. What do you think about that? Let me know down below. And of course, we're going to kick on forward now into the top half of the table. So here it comes in all its glory. Who's going to finish in 9th in my eyes? Of course, nowhere near relegation, but of course, battling maybe for outside shot for a Europa Conference spot or whatever. Here we go into 9th. It is a VfL Wolfsburg, of course. Rebuild happening right there, right now. New manager as well, Niko Kovac, of course, formerly of Bayern. Was he manager of Bayern? He was definitely manager of Frankfurt. I can guarantee that. I'm just looking at his career. Yeah, former Bayern manager, former Monaco manager, former Wolfsburg is now there. Of course, Frankfurt, Croatian manager as well for a little bit. So he is a good coach, just 50 years of age, born in Germany. So so he knows what it's all about. And of course, Wolfsburg will want to better last season's woeful season of 12th. Not great, was it? I do see them stepping in the right direction into 9th. Actually get good odds for them to do very, very well at 100-1. So that's probably the strongest side we've seen so far coming out of the mixer here. So Wolfsburg for me into the top half, top 10, top 9, doing very, very well. I think actually reading into this, they probably could do a lot better than that with some of the teams still to be pulled. So they could, between 9th and maybe 6th. But again, good manager, fantastic. They made a cracking appointment there, probably one of the signings of the season. So I'm not giving them that credit where credit's due. But into 9th for Wolfsburg for me. Where is my mouse? There it is. The 8th spot is, of course, the always surprise package. It is Union Berlin, 5th place last season. And again, the bookies don't even want to touch them. They, of course, put them at 500-1 to win the title. But Union Berlin have been a breath of fresh air for the Bundesliga, of course, coming out of lower leagues into Berlin to become the best team in Berlin, and also the top 5 teams in Germany last season. Fantastic stuff for them. And it just keeps on getting better for them. They're underestimated each and every year. For me, I've always put them in a shit zone, so I'm going to go with as high as 8th for them. Again, that's probably not giving them credit because they were 5th last season. So let's give them some joy and not pick them week in, week out as expected to lose. So for me, a strong season in 8th. And I think if they don't finish in the top half, they should be disappointed with themselves. But anyway, they're happy with that. 5th, of course, they will be in Europe in some shape or form, so we'll enjoy that as well. And that could also that could actually be a negative with them, of course, playing in Europe and spreading that squad much thin. What else do we have moving forward into 7th spot is Hoffenheim. Hoffenheim, of course, new manager as well. Andre Berlentner, of course, coming in there, taking over from Sebastian Hoeneß. Of course, that appointment was made at the back end of May. Hoffenheim into 9th last season to 7th this time around. The bookies odds for them to go the distance is actually quite quite low. I can't even see them at the moment. Where are they? 250-1, of course. About the same odds as Hertha Berlin, who have down in 16th, of course. So the bookies don't fancy them that much. In fact, though, when you look at the numbers here, they fancy them around about 8th. So it's about right, according to the bookie standards anyway. For 7th for me, not great season last season. They did pick it up at the end, but they were struggling and were woeful for a long time. Into 6th spot now, we have Eintracht Frankfurt. Of course, finished 11th last season. This season, new manager. Do they have a new manager? No, they don't have a new manager. But of course, last season they did win the Europa League to get to the They're in the Champions League, boys. They're in the Champions League, finishing in 11th. That for me is an absolute Bobby Dazzler. They have strengthened as well in the transfer window, bringing in some big names as well. So a great opportunity for Frankfurt to get in the spotlight a little bit and maybe have an enjoyable financial cup run in the Champions League. So but a 6th spot won't guarantee that this time around. They'll have to either do some wonders in the Champions League or maybe in the Europa League if they fall into that later on. But for me, 6th spot, they can't really complain about that. Is an upgrade of 5 spots with the same manager. But of course, the morale will be through the roof. It's a 5th spot of my boys, Borussia Mönchengladbach. Last season, 10th. New manager, of course, Daniel Farke. That, of course, comes bittersweet with me. We were linked with him as a Blackburn Rovers team. But, of course, Mönchengladbach is my German team. He takes over the reins from Adi Hüttner, who have had a nightmare season last season, finishing in 10th. That's, of course, bottom half of the table there. So, for me, 5th spot is a great improvement. They have just lost to Brilem Bolo to Monaco, so that's a bit of a loss. But they are still strengthening as well, bringing in some names. But, again, the Farke movement, hopefully, will be a positive one. Of course, we know him from his Norwich spell, but those were great in the Championship years, but he didn't really succeed in the Premier League. So will he succeed in the Bundesliga, or will he come with his tail between his legs back to England around about December time? Who knows? I've gone for 5th though for Gladbach, and hopefully they'll do that for me. Into 4th spot with RB Leipzig. That's right, finishing in 4th last season. No change there, and of course, I think that's what they're aiming for, the season in, season out right now. Of course, a managerial change. Domenico coming in there, whatever his name is, took over the reins from Jesse Marsch, who failed really as a RB Leipzig manager. Now, of course, over at Leeds. So Leipzig, of course, selling a lot of their players, but also retaining some decent ones as well. So a chance for them to maybe make a push into top 3, but I don't think they're going to do it this season. I just think the teams above them are more organised, more ready to go than Leipzig themselves. So fourth for me. Into the top three now. Is it going to be changed from last season? Well, we'll see. Third spot is Bayer Leverkusen, of course, retaining their coach as well. Shall I go back one second? RB Leipzig 12-1. They're actually better odds for them than Leverkusen. But Leverkusen for me are in third. Again, decent team, decent work ethic. They've kept some of the youth players that, of course, made them well or made them decent to this end. And of course, are pretty much a repeat from last season for them. Third spot, Champions League football. That's what they want. Gets the money in, and of course keeps them in the spotlight in Germany. But can they break into the Power Two? I just don't think so. I think right now the top two are kind of like Scotland. Really, there is a bit of a gap, a bit of a void between second and third. Even though Dortmund did struggle last season, which gave hope for the likes of Leverkusen to maybe break into that top two. But for me, Leverkusen will be third comfortably as well, keeping the hold of the manager. And of course, some of the youngsters as well. What else do I got moving forward into the Power 2 now? Of course, there's a bit of a change of dynamic in the top two. Of course, they're both the top two, Bayern and Dortmund, have lost their key men from last season. Lewandowski no longer at Bayern. Haaland no longer at Dortmund, of course. Who's actually spent their money wisely? Who's reinvested? And of course, who's actually going to take control of this division? Unfortunately, I'm going to give you both of them right here, right now. It's pretty much the same for me. I cannot see much difference between Bayern and Dortmund in regards to positioning. The points might be a little bit smaller, and the gap might be much closer. But Bayern still have a talented squad from back to front. They are looking to actually improve the defensive quarters as well, with De Ligt coming in and of course reinvesting maybe on the forward. There is still question marks as of recording this on the 18th of July of Cristiano Ronaldo. If he comes to Bayern, that would absolutely tear up this league and make this an absolutely fantastic league, and of course give the watching fans a treat. Dortmund though have brought in Sebastian Haller from Ajax, of course, to maybe take over from the goal scoring burdens, but of course Bellingham still remains. Haaland has gone to move on to pastures new. Again, it's still a lot of work, a lot of ground to make up. I just think Bayern are too good at this stage to be caught. But that, my friends, is what I'm thinking this campaign. Of course, a little bit of a footnote there. Dortmund have a new manager, Erdin Terzic, taking over from the 23rd of May. And again, I'll give you the odds right here and now. Bayern 5-1 on to win it. 8-1 is your Dortmund. Again, just like what I'm seeing here. The gap is massive still between first and second, but it's going to be a tight old race regardless of my picks. That's it. Of course, make sure you smash your subscribe, smash the thumbs up, smash the little bell, and of course let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Do you agree or disagree? Do you think the gap is different? Do you think Dortmund can actually become number one? And what about my picks for the going down? Any changes? Let me know down below. Of course, we'll be back week in, week out coverage. I will be doing a prediction show. They may even be live, so make sure you stick around for that. But until then, boys and girls, we're done.